Pada awal 2019, UNUSA berhasil mendapatkan predikat perguruan tinggi NU terbaik pertama se-Indonesia dalam menerapkan sistem penjaminan mutu internal atau SPMI yang diberikan oleh Lembaga Perguruan Tinggi Nahdlatul Ulama atau LPTNU. Peringkat UNUSA pada tahun 2020 menduduki posisi ke-135 dari 2.136 perguruan tinggi se-Indonesia. Peringkat nasional kemahasiswaan UNUSA pada tahun 2020 pada peringkat 31. UNUSA memiliki 2 kampus dengan fasilitas lengkap dan modern. UNUSA ditunjang 3 rumah sakit sendiri, Rumah Sakit Islam Surabaya Ahmad Yani, Rumah Sakit Islam Surabaya Jemur Sari, dan Rumah Sakit Ibu dan Anak Nyai Ageng Pinatih Gresik. Fungsi rumah sakit tersebut selain sebagai fasilitas layanan kesehatan, juga sebagai sarana praktek mahasiswa dalam menunjang percepatan target kompetensi. UNUSA mendapat hibah alat RT-PCR dan juga Regen PCR dari Kementerian Pendidikan dan Kebudayaan sebagai upaya diagnostik virus COVID-19. UNUSA menjadi universitas pertama di Indonesia yang mengembangkan laboratorium virtual reality dan laboratorium micro teaching berteknologi super canggih di era digital. Laboratorium virtual reality mampu memberikan pengalaman real praktek kepada mahasiswa tanpa harus hadir secara fisik dalam laboratorium. Laboratorium Micro Teaching UNUSA dilengkapi dengan Smart Whiteboard Display, papan tulis multi-touchscreen yang terintegrasi dengan smartphone, personal computer, dan terkoneksi dengan internet. Penggunaannya saat ini merupakan yang pertama dan satu-satunya di Indonesia. UNUSA menjalin kerjasama dengan berbagai pihak baik dalam dan luar negeri. Hingga tahun 2020, UNUSA telah melakukan MOU sebanyak 157 dengan institusi dalam negeri dan 27 MOU dengan institusi luar negeri. UNUSA berkomitmen menjalankan Tridharma perguruan tinggi dengan sebaik-baiknya. Saat ini klaster penelitian UNUSA pada peringkat madya dan klaster pengabdian masyarakat UNUSA pada peringkat sangat bagus. UNUSA memiliki 15 jurnal ilmiah, 9 telah terakreditasi Nasional Sinta, dan 1 jurnal telah terindeks DOAJ. Sebagai bagian dari pengabdian masyarakat, UNUSA bekerja sama dengan pemerintah Provinsi Jawa Timur untuk melaksanakan program One Pesantren One Product atau OPOP. Dalam rangka memberikan kesempatan bagi lulusan perawat untuk berkarir di luar negeri, serta menangkap peluang dan tantangan pasar global. Pada jabatan formal tenaga perawat profesional, UNUSA bekerja sama dengan BP2MI atau Badan Perlindungan Pekerja Migran Indonesia, mendirikan LPKS atau Lembaga Pelatihan Kerja Swasta. UNUSA bertekad memberikan yang terbaik, bukan hanya bagi sivitas akademika UNUSA, namun meluas kepada Perguruan Tinggi Nahdlatul Ulama atau PTNU di Indonesia. Untuk memberikan sertifikat kompetensi bagi mahasiswa UNUSA, Lembaga Sertifikasi Profesi atau LSP UNUSA memiliki 8 skema, bidang ekonomi, IT, kesehatan, keperawatan, dan kebidanan. UNUSA memahami betapa pentingnya peran teknologi informasi dalam proses pembelajaran di kampus. Oleh karena itu, UNUSA menghadirkan e-Sorogan, sebuah media pembelajaran berbasis IT. Teknologi yang dikembangkan UNUSA menjadi kekuatan dalam proses blended learning, sebuah proses pembelajaran yang memadukan metode offline dan online. Kedepan, UNUSA bertekad menjadi kampus terbaik pilihan masyarakat berkelas dunia. UNUSA menyiapkan generasi rahmatan lil alamin.
Kami
generasi
rahmatan lil alamin.
Baik, mari kita mulai acara pada hari ini. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Yang terhormat, pembicara kita pada hari ini, Profesor Datin Dr. Sarida Fakurazi, BSc, Aun's PhD DIC. Yang kami hormati, Rektor UNUSA, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering, yang kami hormati Wakil Rektor 1, Wakil Rektor 2, dan Wakil Rektor 3, Ketua Lembaga di lingkungan UNUSA, para dekan di lingkungan UNUSA, serta seluruh peserta webinar yang berbahagia. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Assalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi washabihi ajmain amma ba'du. Pertama-tama marilah kita panjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa taala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa, atas segala karunia-Nya kepada kita semua sehingga kita dapat mengikuti acara webinar pada hari ini. Tak lupa juga salawat dan salam marilah kita lantunkan kepada Nabi Agung Rasulullah Muhammad SAW atas perjuangannya membawa kita ke zaman yang terang benderang yakni Adinul Islam. Baik, sebelum acara ini saya mulai, izinkan saya membaca susunan acara pada hari ini. Acara pertama yakni pembukaan. Acara kedua, lantunan lagu kebangsaan Indonesia Raya. Acara ketiga, sambutan Rektor UNUSA. Acara keempat, doa. Acara kelima, penyampaian materi. Dan acara terakhir, yakni penutup. Sebelumnya perlu diketahui bahwa acara ini bisa disaksikan juga secara langsung melalui akun YouTube UNUSA. Bagi peserta yang mengalami kendala join Zoom, dapat menyimak melalui live streaming YouTube kami. Baik, hadirin yang berbahagia, sebagai awalan kita masuk pada acara hari ini, marilah kita buka bersama acara ini dengan membaca basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Acara selanjutnya, mari kita dengarkan bersama lantunan lagu Indonesia Raya. Hadirin dimohon mematikan audio dan mendengarkan secara seksama.
Indonesia tanah airku, tanah tumpah darahku. Di sanalah aku berdiri, jadi pandu hidupku. Indonesia kebangsaanku, bangsa dan tanah air. Marilah kita bersatu, Indonesia bersatu. Hiduplah tanahku, hiduplah negeriku, bangsaku, rakyatku semuanya. Bangunlah jiwanya, bangunlah badannya untuk Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, tanahku, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
Baik, acara selanjutnya yakni sambutan yang akan disampaikan oleh Rektor UNUSA, Profesor Dr. Insinyur Ahmad Yazidi, Master of Engineering. Kami persilahkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. Sayyidina Muhammad ibn Abdillah. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa mawalah. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billahil aliyyil azim. Amma ba'd. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarika lah. Wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu la nabiyya ba'dah. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Yang sama-sama kita hormati Ibu Profesor Syarida Fakhrazi, yang sama-sama kita hormati Ibu Bapak Wakil Rektor UNUSA, para rekan, para direktur, para ketua lembaga, para kaprodi, sekprodi, teman-teman LPPM, para dosen, dan mungkin juga ada mahasiswa yang ikut dalam acara kita pagi hari ini. Alhamdulillah, wa syukrulillah, puji syukur kita panjatkan kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala dalam keadaan sehat walafiat. Kita ditakdirkan oleh Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala untuk bisa bertemu secara virtual dalam acara yang digelar, yang diselenggarakan oleh teman-teman LPPM UNUSA. Salawat dan salam mudah-mudahan senantiasa tercurahkan kepada junjungan kita semua Nabi besar Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, yang mudah-mudahan kita semua mendapatkan syafaat di hari kiamat nanti. Ibu sekalian, sebelum saya berbicara lebih lanjut dalam kesempatan ini, saya ingin mengajak Ibu Bapak sekalian, teman-teman semuanya, untuk membaca surat Al-Fatihah bagi kesehatan Pak Syafi yang saat ini sedang dirawat di rumah sakit. Mudah-mudahan Gusti Allah segera mengangkat penyakit beliau dan Pak Syafi segera pulih, sehat kembali, dan bersama-sama kita untuk mengabdi kepada Gusti Allah melalui pengabdian kepada agama, nusa, dan bangsa. Dan juga mudah-mudahan kita semua dengan kasih sayang Allah senantiasa terpelihara kesehatan kita untuk seterusnya. Ila hadini Al-Fatihah. Iya. Terima kasih. Ibu Bapak sekalian yang saya hormati, pertama saya ingin memanfaatkan kesempatan ini untuk menyampaikan terima kasih yang tulus, yang sebesar-besarnya kepada Profesor Syarida Fakhrazi atas kesediaan beliau untuk hadir secara virtual bersama-sama kita dalam acara pagi hari ini yang digelar oleh teman-teman LPPM UNUSA. untuk berbagi ilmu kepada kita semua, bahkan tidak terbatas hanya pada topik webinar, tetapi juga mungkin kita bisa berdiskusi, mendapatkan pencerahan dan pengkayaan, enlightenment and enrichment dari beliau tentang berbagai hal, terutama yang terkait dengan research collaborations, tentang aktivitas penelitian bersama untuk pengembangan sains dan teknologi, khususnya antara perguruan tinggi Profesor Syariah dan Ustaz Nahdlatul Ulama. Ibu-ibu sekalian, tema yang digelar oleh teman-teman LPPM adalah bagaimana publikasi, bagaimana kita sebagai peneliti bisa mempublikasikan hasil penelitian kita, karya ilmiah kita di jurnal-jurnal transaksi internasional, international journal or international transactions yang bereputasi Q1 atau Q3 misalnya. Bagaimana teknik menulis karya ilmiah sedemikian karya ilmiah kita nanti itu bisa menembus dan dipublikasikan di jurnal-jurnal atau transaksi ilmiah internasional. Ibu sekalian, ini bagian dari kegiatan riset itu sendiri. Dalam beberapa kesempatan saya sering menyampaikan bahwa ujung dari kegiatan riset ilmiah itu bisa berwujud dua bentuk. Yang pertama adalah kita sering menyebutnya hilirisasi, end product yang bahkan siap dikomersialkan. Bentuk-bentuk produk yang nyata, yang sebutlah tangible, physically kita bisa rasakan, atau metode untuk sesuatu yang bersifat service. Yang kedua, bentuk ujung dari suatu penelitian ilmiah itu adalah publikasi. Ibu-ibu sekalian, dengan publikasi ide-ide yang dimiliki oleh seorang peneliti itu bisa berjalan sendiri sampai ke ujung dunia manapun. Dengan demikian, ide yang boleh jadi penelitian kita itu belum berakhir, belum final, itu sudah mampu menginspirasi peneliti lain di ujung atau belahan dunia manapun. Itu semua bisa terjadi kalau apa yang sedang kita kerjakan atau yang telah kita kerjakan, yang what's going on with our research, itu sudah bisa menginspirasi. Dan sekaligus dengan publikasi itu terbuka ruang diskusi indirectly antar peneliti di belahan dunia manapun. Ibu sekalian perlu diketahui, boleh jadi penelitian yang dilakukan oleh seorang peneliti di satu belahan dunia itu punya kesamaan dengan apa yang sedang dilakukan oleh peneliti lain di belahan dunia yang lain. Bukan sesuatu yang mustahil. Dan dari sejarah perkembangan ilmu pengetahuan, itu sudah banyak kita jumpai. Nah, dengan publikasi seperti ini, di jurnal-jurnal atau transaksi internasional, antar dua peneliti itu yang tanpa sengaja ternyata sedang melakukan penelitian yang sama, bisa terbuka ruang untuk diskusi, saling mengisi, saling melengkapi. Bahkan juga sebenarnya di situ terjadi tidak langsung kompetisi. Tentu saja kompetisi yang membangun, kompetisi yang baik. Dulu-duluan, mana yang lebih dulu. Sebab ini nanti agak ada sangkut pautnya dengan intellectual property right. Tetapi terbuka untuk ruang diskusi, saling mengisi dan saling memperkaya. Karena itu, Ibu sekalian, publikasi di international journal itu menjadi sesuatu yang sangat penting dan menjadi salah satu kegiatan penelitian yang sangat penting pula. Saya khawatir kadang-kadang begitu hebohnya tentang hilirisasi, orang kemudian menganggap tidak penting lagi itu publikasi. Apalagi kemudian kalau yang menganggap tidak pentingnya publikasi itu para policy makers. Sehingga perhatian terhadap dukungan pentingnya publikasi ini terasa agak kurang dari para public policy makers. Jadi sekali lagi, publikasi menempati posisi yang sangat-sangat penting dalam keseluruhan kegiatan penelitian. Hasil-hasil penelitian itu menjadi tidak bermakna selain hilirisasi, ya. Kalau kemudian hanya tersimpan rapi dalam rak-rak buku, tidak terpublikasikan ke masyarakat luas. Oleh karena itu, saya memberikan apresiasi yang tinggi terhadap kegiatan-kegiatan semacam ini. Sekaligus saya ingin memberikan catatan bahwa tidak cukup tentu hanya dengan webinar-webinar. Anda semua para peneliti rajin mengikuti kegiatan-kegiatan pelatihan melalui webinar atau seminar, tapi tak satu pun ilmu yang kita semua peroleh dari pelatihan-pelatihan itu, dari seminar-seminar itu, dari webinar-webinar itu yang kita praktekkan dalam bentuk kita mencoba menulis, mempraktekkannya, membuat suatu karya ilmiah yang kita publish ke jurnal-jurnal atau transaksi internasional. Sekali lagi, kami memberikan apresiasi yang tinggi pada panitia dan terima kasih yang tak ternilai juga kepada Prof. Sherida yang berkesempatan berbagi ilmu kepada semua pada kesempatan kali ini. Juga saya ingin menyampaikan terima kasih kepada para narasumber yang lain yang juga berkenan untuk berbagi pengalaman, berbagi ilmu dengan kita semua. Sekali lagi, mari kalau kita setelah menerima ilmu ini mencoba mempraktekkannya dengan menulis, dengan membuat karya ilmiah untuk mempublikasikan hasil penelitian-penelitian kita. Terima kasih Prof. Sherida. Terima kasih teman-teman semuanya. Selamat berwebinar. Dan dengan mengucap Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, secara resmi kegiatan webinar ini saya nyatakan dibuka. Mohon maaf atas segala kekhilafan, kekurangan. Wallahul muwafiq ila aqwamit thariq. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Prof. Yasidi atas sambutan sekaligus pembuka acara pada hari ini. Rangkaian acara selanjutnya yakni doa yang akan dipimpin oleh Bapak Muhammad Afwan Rombloni, SHI MAG. Kepada beliau kami persilahkan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Mohon izin Prof.
wabarakatuh. Kalau bangga Pak Afwan, kok nggak pakai kopiah Pak Afwan?
Wa li syafati Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Fatihah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali Sayyidina Muhammad walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Bismillah, Rabbi Allah, hasbi Allah, tawakkalna ala Allah wa atasamna billah. Fawadna amrana ila Allah, ma sya Allah, la quwwata illa billah. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Muhammadin tibbil qulub wa dawaiha وعافية الأبدان وشفائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. اللهم بارك لنا في حياتنا وبارك لنا في علمنا وبارك لنا في رزقنا وبارك لنا في مجلسنا يا في هذا اليوم. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. اللهم اقسم لنا من خشيتك ما تحول بيننا وبين معصيتك ومن طاعتك ما تبلغنا به جنتك ومن اليقين ما تهون به علينا مصائب الدنيا. اللهم متعنا بأسماعنا وأبصارنا وقوتنا واجعله الوارث منا واجعل ثأرنا على من ظلمنا وانصرنا على من عادنا ولا تجعل مصيبتنا في ديننا. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا. ربنا أتمم لنا نورنا واغفر لنا إنك على كل شيء قدير. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا هب لنا من أزواجنا وذرياتنا قرة أعين واجعلنا للمتقين إماما. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. بسر الفاتحة. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih Pak Afwan.
Terus kami Prof.
Kopiahnya di mana Pak Afwan?
Iya Prof.
Iya, moga terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih kami ucapkan. Memasuki acara selanjutnya, yakni acara inti. Namun sebelum memasuki acara inti, mari kita foto bersama terlebih dahulu. Mohon untuk seluruh peserta dapat mengaktifkan kameranya. Oke, kita mulai. Mohon bantuan operator untuk screenshot. Kita mulai dari slide pertama. 1, 2, 3.
Saya masuk slide ke berapa Mbak?
Slide pertama, Prof.
Alhamdulillah.
Baik, slide berikutnya. Siap. 1, 2, 3. Slide berikutnya. 1, 2, 3. Slide berikutnya. Oke, sudah. Oke, sudah cukup. Baik, terima kasih. Kita lanjutkan ke acara inti. Memasuki acara inti, pada hari ini akan dimoderatori oleh Ibu Rizky Putri Norma Budiarti, Magister Teknik. Nah, sebelumnya saya perkenalkan terlebih dahulu CV beliau. Beliau merupakan dosen dari Prodi S1 Sistem Informasi, Fakultas Ekonomi Bisnis dan Teknologi Digital. Beliau lulusan sarjana dari ITS, jurusan Teknik Sistem Komputer. Kemudian beliau juga lulusan dari Master dari ITS, jurusan Jaringan Cerdas Multimedia. Dan saat ini beliau menjabat sebagai Kepala Bidang 1 LPPM Unusa dan Chief Editor di jurnal ATCSC. Baik, tidak perlu berlama-lama lagi, mari langsung saja kami persilahkan kepada Bu Rizky untuk memimpin webinar pada hari ini.
Baik, terima kasih Ibu Dwi Handayani atas waktu yang diberikan. Langsung saja, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, Bapak, Ibu-Ibu, dan teman-teman yang sudah stay online, baik yang di YouTube ataupun di Zoom, tetap semangat. Semoga sinyalnya kuat ya, hingga bisa stay sampai akhir acara, mendengarkan pemaparan dari narasumber kita yang telah hadir di tengah kita pada hari ini, virtual, dengan topik yang akan disampaikan oleh Profesor Datin Dr. Syarida Fakurazi, DSc Hons, PhD DIC, Profesor Department of Human Anatomy, Faculty of Medicine and Health Science, University Putra Malaysia. Apakah Ibu Profesor Datin Syarida sudah bergabung?
Iya, saya di sini.
Oke, selamat datang Ibu. Baik, berikut saya sampaikan profil beliau. Saya share screen dulu. Baik, langsung saja. Profesor Datin Dr. Syarida Fakurazi, Profesor dari Department of Human Anatomy, Faculty of Medicine and Health Science, University Putra Malaysia. Beliau menyelesaikan sarjananya di Bachelor of Science Hons, Pharmacology, University of Dundee, Scotland. Kemudian melanjutkan ke PhD di Imperial College of Science, Technology and Medicine, South Kensington, London, di mana research interest beliau adalah tentang drug discovery and pharmacology, kemudian hepatoprotective study, kemudian toksikologi, drug delivery system and cancer, dan wound healing. Beberapa paten yang telah beliau dapatkan, di antaranya Methods of Compassion for the Prevention of Opiate Tolerance Using Mitragynin, kemudian Moringa oleifera, crude extract and their derivative fraction with diabetic wound, kemudian an intercalate UV absorbing products and a production method theory, dan process for producing fungicide or fumigen, nano delivery system for controlling ganoderma. Banyak sekali Ibu. Dan berikut adalah Google Scholar beliau dengan nama Syarida Fakurazi. Kita bisa melihat H-index beliau saat ini adalah H-index 40. Dan untuk profil Scopus beliau bisa dicari dengan nama Fakurazi Syarida. H-indeksnya juga bagus sekali, Bu. H-indeks 30. Dan ini adalah profil detail mengenai Profesor Datin Dr. Syarida Fakurazi. Baik, nanti sangat banyak yang akan di-share oleh Ibu Prof. Syarida. Semoga sangat bermanfaat nantinya bagi kita semua, terutama tips and triknya dalam publikasi jurnal di Q1 and Q2. Dan mungkin barangkali bagaimana cara meminimalisir penolakan Ibu kalau misalnya kita menulis di jurnal yang bereputasi seperti itu. Dan bagi teman-teman dosen yang sering mendapatkan surat cinta, penolakan, mungkin harus stay tune di sini ya, mendengarkan pemaparan dari beliau. Baik, langsung saja untuk mempersingkat waktu, kami persilakan Ibu Profesor Datin Dr. Syarida Fakurazi untuk memulai sesi Ibu. Silakan Prof. Syarida, waktu dan tempat kami persilakan.
Terima kasih Bu Rizky for your kind introduction. Mungkin saya share screen ya sekarang. Pada tahun ini UPM berusia 50 tahun dan Fakultas Perubatan pula berusia 25 tahun. Jadi terjadilah slides sebegini dan UPM adalah antara green campus, kampus yang tercantik di Malaysia dan juga kita ada pusat equine di UPM. Jadi Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Ingin mengucapkan berbanyak-banyak syukur Alhamdulillah kerana kita masih lagi dapat menghirup udara segar sama ada di Malaysia, di Indonesia dan di mana-mana sahaja. Kerana pandemik ni masih berada di sekeliling kita. Kalau dulu saya enggak dengar teman-teman di sekeliling saya menghadapi masalah ini, tapi dalam masa yang terdekat ini sudah ramai yang telah pergi menyambut seruan ilahi. Jadi syukur Alhamdulillah setiap pagi kita dikejutkan daripada tidur kita dan kita harus meneruskan kehidupan kita dalam bagaimana keadaan sekalipun. Okay, I would like to actually present this sharing session in English for the talk, but I will try to actually incorporate also some bahasa Melayu dan juga bahasa Indonesia. Presentation is being said in English, but I know that we are more comfortable to actually speak in bahasa Melayu atau bahasa Indonesia.
Bahasa Jawa, Prof.
Saya enggak tahu bahasa Jawa. But if you give me some time, maybe I can try and learn bahasa Jawa juga. I have been to Indonesia giving talk for about 4 years now. And every time I finish talking, it is something like burning of calories. I feel that I am very into whatever I am talking. But before I start, I would like to say thank you so much for giving me the chance to actually speak on this topic, even though probably I am not the best person to actually talk about this topic, but I would like to share the experience, what I have gone through, and but I would like to say thank you to Bapak Rektor, Professor Insinyur Dr. Ahmad Jazidi for giving me the trust, and also to the organizing committee of University of Nahdlatul Ulama Surabaya, dan juga kepada panitia Lembaga Penelitian Pengabdian kepada Masyarakat. Thank you so much. And I would like to say thank you to all the lecturers, dosen-dosen UNUSA, dan juga kepada seluruh mahasiswa yang hadir. So hopefully whatever that I'm sharing with you, you can actually use it. Probably it's not 100%, but I hope that it can be some tips to you and also some tricks to you in order to publish in a high quality journal. Okay, So let us start. Selamat siang to everybody. Okay, saya tertarik dengan ucapan yang diberikan oleh Bapa Rektor kita, yang mana you have to acknowledge and you have to know and you have to realize why are you publishing your work. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, why do you need to publish? Probably some of you would say that that is what required from you. Your university asks you to publish. That is your key performance index. And to the postgraduate students, to all the mahasiswa, you might say to yourself that, oh, I need to publish because that is what required from you in order for you to get your master's or in order for you to get your PhDs. In our university, in UPM, for the graduates to get their masters, they have to publish at least one paper in the journal, at least a Scopus journal. But nowadays we are into more to Q1 and Q2. And for PhD, they have to publish at least 2 papers. So if they're not able to publish in those papers, the university will not allow them to graduate, even though they have finished their thesis, they have actually completed their masters. So you have to ask yourself, why do you want to publish? Okay, so what is it so important for you to publish? So you want to actually establish and get your name into an academic journal. And you want to establish your work within the academic network. And you want to say to people that you are the first person to report the work and you are the owner of the work. Okay? And you want to announce to many people, you want to share to everybody, you want to tell people outside Indonesia and outside the continent that this is what you find. Okay, you want to tell others about your work. So in other words, you want to expand your connection. Okay, so you need to publish in order for you to tell everybody, and most importantly, it is for the advancement of knowledge. Okay, because if you don't publish, whatever that you have is actually inside your thesis, it is actually inside your community, it is within your institution, it cannot spread to other part of the world. Okay, so that is what Professor Ahmad Jazidi mentioned just now. You need to actually ensure that the advancement of knowledge is actually there. And if you want to publish, okay, there are many places that you can publish. So where do you publish? It can be in proceedings, it can be as an abstract, or a short paper in proceedings during a conference, or it can be in journals, whether it is a local journal or international journal. Okay, or you can actually publish books, chapters in books, and you can publish reports or policy. It can be in the form of policy, it can be in the form of newspaper, or it can be in the form of a newsletter. So if you look at the where you can publish, so as an academia, you have to write something where it is of good quality and it can be accepted by a scientific community, academia, and the quality of the publication is good. So we have a mission here. Okay, you need to publish. Okay, and whether it is a breakthrough findings and whether it is a normal findings, it doesn't matter. Becoming an academician, you must publish. So, when you want to publish your work, you have to know whether your findings, is it a breakthrough? Adakah ianya sesuatu yang baharu? Okay? Ataupun is it more to advancement of knowledge? And adakah ia sesuatu yang tidak baharu tapi dia lebih menyumbang kepada advancement of knowledge. Bermakna knowledge itu adalah sesuatu yang berkembang. Okay? So, when you want to publish, you need to know where you want to publish and it has to follow a certain format. So how do you put that strategy of publishing your research work? So I have listed at least 5 strategies. Before you actually publish in Q1 or Q2 journals or even top 10% or top 1% journal, you have to plan your research work. You cannot say that you want to publish in Q1 or Q2, but your research work is not being planned properly. Okay? Number 2, you have to have a good network of research work. Okay? The network must be good, the funding must be good. Okay? Everything must come together. Okay? And work facility must be there, co-researchers must be there, your networking must also be there. And how the work is going to be conducted. Are you going to do that work all by yourself and among the co-workers? Or are you going to have research students that you are going to supervise and come up with the work? And then you have to have a good data analysis. And then when it comes to this stage, the conductance of research has been going on, then you have to start share your knowledge. Okay? You have to start going for conference. You have to start doing meetings with your research students, co-researchers, collaborators, and industries. Okay? You have to start sharing knowledge with the public. Okay? And finally, you want to actually publish into journals, into books, into newspapers where larger research audience is there. Okay, so when you look at the 5 strategies that I have listed, it is actually dia bukan adalah sesuatu yang cepat. You have to start planning from now if you want to publish next year. You cannot actually say that you want to publish this year but the planning isn't there. Okay, but having said that, all this process is not an easy task, provided that you have to have a good motivation and a good spirit around you and within yourself. Okay, let me go through with you the slides because there are many processes that is involved in these strategies, but I will actually concentrate more on strategy number 5. But I guess that you do understand what I mean by processes number 1, processes number 2, number 3, and number 4 before you go to number 5. Okay, So when you actually have gone all the 4 processes, then you might be thinking, okay, which journal that you want to actually publish your work, okay? So what makes a good paper? What makes a good manuscript, okay? So if it is an excellent research topic, then it can definitely makes a good paper, okay? If you're working with the best scientists in the world, if you have a complete and high-end lab facility and you have the best and excellent surrounding co-researchers, collaborators, you have the best postgraduate students, okay? You have the best staff that can assist you, okay? So these are the best scenario that you can think of. But in the actual scenario, we have to actually work around the problem, okay? We have to actually work around the limitation that we have, because we are not in the Europe, we are not in America, where probably you can actually have all these best, everything is the best. But we can say that you have the best, whatever that you have around you, that is the best situation that you can make it work, okay? So that it can be the paper that you want, okay? To me, good is very subjective, but if it is the key performance that you have to do, so you have to actually work around the limitation and come up with something, okay? So which journal to choose from after you have actually done all the work, okay? And how do you choose your journal? So this is where we always go to, okay? The web of knowledge, web of science, okay? So why are we very interested in the journals that is being listed in the web of science, also the web of knowledge, okay? And in acronyms, it is being called JCR, okay? I can't remember what JCR is. It's journal cited of something. I can't remember, okay? So you have to actually search those journals being listed in the web of science. Why this is very important is that as you might have aware, there are many predatory journals, okay? Why we are very concerned of predatory journals? Because you can get your paper published, but the quality of the journal is still being questioned. Meaning that if sekiranya kamu publish your manuscript di dalam predatory journal, kemungkinan besar kita kata universiti tidak akan acknowledge your publication, because this is what happened in UPM, di mana sekiranya dosen publish journal di dalam predatory journal, it is not being counted towards their performance, and it is not being counted towards their promotion. So at the end of the day, whatever work that you have done, whatever effort that you have done, it is not being counted. So think about it, okay? The knowledge that you have generated, that the effort that you have given, it is not being counted, yeah? I do understand that some of us even some academia might say that it doesn't matter as long as you publish the work, but you have to think about the quality of the journal that you publish, the effort that you have done, the money that you have spent. It is not of good quality journal. Okay, so the web of knowledge is very important. Okay, because we know that the journal that is being listed in the web of knowledge, it will provide to you with transparent process of acceptance. Because predatory journal, they will accept your manuscript. Sometimes they will charge you. They will give you the fees. It might probably cheap, not that expensive, but the way it is being accepted, you might be like surprise yourself. Okay, you might be thinking, you don't have to do any correction. It is being accepted. Okay, so why the Web of Science? Why the JCR journal? Because in the Web of Science, it will provide you with statistics, okay, of the performance of the journals, and it will provide to you statistic that you need to make confident decision on how scholarly the publishing of the journal. Okay, so it will calculate this statistic for the science, for the engineering, and also some social science journal. Okay, and it will be indexed in their database. Okay. However, you must remember that the ranking or the rating of the journal is different from fields, in fields, and also in categories. Okay, so it shouldn't be comparable between categories. So medicine will have a different ranking, engineering will have a different ranking, social science will have a different ranking of journals. And even medicine, you have Nature probably number one. That is to show that Nature is the highest reputable journal. You have Lancet, you have many other journals of top 1%. Okay, but you have also other journals of different ranking. Okay, so yeah, GCR is a journal citation reports, is a product of ISI, Web of Knowledge, and it is an authoritative resources for impact factor data. Okay, so the database provided by the Web of Knowledge and the Web of Science will provide to you the impact factors and the ranking of many journals in life sciences and also in social sciences based on million of citations. Okay, so this is the example of the impact factor. So you can see that New England Journal of Medicine is about 51, Nature is about 30, Science is about 30. Okay, so this is to show how many scholars and how many academicians like us will go back to the journal and make your work as their reference for new knowledge generation. Okay, so impact factor is the average number of times the articles are being cited from the journal in the past 2 years, and it is to show that your work is good. Okay, so besides knowing the impact factor, the JCR journal will also provide to you total citation number, total articles production every year, and also immediacy index. Okay, and JCR will provide a 5 the impact factor, and you can actually visualize for each journal that you choose. Okay, so this trend is being observed. And the JCR have this information for at least 75 years. Okay, don't ask me, I can't remember where I got this from, but I got this information from the web page. So this is the what I'm trying to say to you. This is the site, or this is the list of journals that you need to go to. Okay, besides the impact factor, now they have actually introduced quartile. Okay, so this is what is known as the Q index. Okay, so the quartile, the Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4, that is the rank of a journal in a specific field. Okay, it will describe the journal from the highest to the lowest ranking, where Q1 and Q2 will actually occupy between top 25 to top 50% of group. Okay, whereas Q3 and Q4 occupy 50 to 100% of group. Then it comes all the index journal. Okay, so what is it is showing here is that when you are able to actually have a good Q journal, definitely the impact is good. Okay, so meaning that last time when I first joined the academia, we are only talking about impact factor. Now we start to talk about quartile or the Q index of the journal. So if you are able to go into Q1 with a low number of IF, but another person go into Scopus, Scopus doesn't have impact factor. If another person go into Q4, so definitely, even though the impact factor is high, but Q1 journal is better. So you need to know which journal is being listed as Q1 and which journal is actually Q3 and Q4, and which one is actually only index journal. Okay, so those journals are high impact journal where leading scientists will actually go to, and even a new budding scientist will actually go to. Okay, so it will have a wider audience. It will actually increase your number of citations, and you will have a good CV. Okay, that is showing that you are able to actually get your work into reputable journals. But having said that, the probabilities of rejections is also high. Okay, because this journal, like Nature, New England Medical Journal, they only accept minority of papers. Okay, the process of review, revision is very vigorous, and even the number of reviewer, sometimes we might have like 5 or 6 reviewer that you have to attend to before you publish the journal. Okay. Now, I am showing to you the screenshot on Web of Knowledge, Web of Science, on where you can actually choose the JCR edition. Okay, and you select the journal, if you know the journal that you want to actually publish, or if you don't know, they can actually go for which field that you want, okay, which area that you want, okay. So you can actually make your selection according to the topic of your choice, okay. I am sorry I didn't actually have anything on engineering, but my field is mostly on life sciences, okay. And then when you have chosen which journal, okay, depending on your work, whether it is something that is the in thing nowadays. So in medicine nowadays, people are talking about COVID. If you think that you have already have a vaccine that you want everyone to know, uh, probably you can actually send the findings in Lancet. Okay, Lancet is among the top 1% journal in medicine. People who want to actually publish, the editors, the reviewers who want to actually publish your work in Lancet, if anything related to COVID. But if you feel that the work is not the in thing nowadays, it is advancement of knowledge, you innovate something which is already there, you can try Q2. Usually the tips that I want to give to you, I would say that Q2, okay? Why it is Q2, okay? I'll let you know later, okay? So now we will go back to the steps, okay? After you have selected, you have to actually go to instruction for authors, okay? And remember your paper, okay? It can be of many types and it is actually dependent on the journal that you want. And the types, okay? If you want to publish your work, it's original article, right? If you want to review other people's work, it will be a review article. And if you want to actually have a quick publication, it can be into short communication or rapid communication, okay? So for each type of manuscript, they have different requirement for the article. So that is what you have to decide, okay? And for each journal, you have to actually format your publication depending on which journal that you want, okay? So I think I will skip this because this is just an example. And then, before you decide which journal that you want as well, you have to actually check the aims and the scope. Okay, so you have to know that the journal that you want is actually matched with the aims and the scope of the journal is actually matched with the work that you want to publish. Okay, whether the manuscript is, I'm sorry, whether the manuscript is, sorry, my daughter just come in. Okay, whether the manuscript is actually in parallel to the aims and the scope of the journal. Because sometimes all the times, it's not sometimes, all the times, if the aims and the scope doesn't match with the work that you have sent to the journal, the editor doesn't send your manuscript to the reviewer. They will actually reject there and then. Okay, so you need to know the aims and the scope of the journal before you prepare the manuscript to be submitted for the journal. Okay, and then the other things that is important for you to know is how long that the journal will take to actually respond to you to say that your publication is to be considered, your publication, your manuscript needs to be edited after you get the response from the reviewer. Some journals will actually take a long time, but good quality journal, they have their own duration. It shouldn't be that long, and it depends on which journal that you send. So you might want to check on that one as well before you send. Okay, because the process of sending, the process of reviewing, the process of correcting of manuscript before publication, it might take easily 1 year or 2 years. So depending on which journal that you decide to send. Okay. So I guess I will skip on those screenshot, which I think you can actually look at it yourself. Okay. So after you have decided the journal, then you have to start to write a manuscript. Okay, and there is no tips and tricks of writing a good manuscript, except for you have to start writing today. If you feel that you are not good at writing and you put aside whatever that you have now, you might not actually have the manuscript this year. Okay, that is what I am facing with our newly enrolled lecturers or young lecturers, in which that they are very mereka takut mahu hantar kepada journal kerana mereka takut ada rejection, and they will feel that it is a demotivation. Okay, so you have to start writing now, because a good writer, everything it will come with practice. Okay, so starting to write a manuscript. Okay, so after you have completed a project and you have accumulated a good comprehensive data, then you need to write the manuscript. Thus, planning a good project is very essential, and you must have a logical thinking rather than just thinking about the literature. Okay, so the logical thinking must be there. Okay, so having stated this on my slides, another tips which I would say it is equally important, especially to the lecturers, okay, to the docent, and also to possibly the postgraduate students as well. When you plan a project, you have project activities. Okay, your project activities is actually to answer the objectives. Okay, so when you have completed on one objectives, you should have been able to actually analyze for one objective. Okay, so you should be able to write something on one objective. Okay, and then when you do that, you can actually go for local conference or international conference and start writing on the abstract. Okay, having said that, you have to be careful, because some conferences, they actually publish your abstract or short paper in a journal. Okay, sometimes usually when they publish an abstract, there is no ethical issues there because it's only an abstract. But if they have started requesting some papers, okay, short papers, what do they call, extended abstract, and they publish in a journal, you have to actually inquire about ethical issues that come into this picture. Okay, if the journal is of good journal, it's fine. But if the journal, if probably Scopus index or probably is not being indexed, but if you have actually published, you might have some problem of publishing into another journal because it is of the same same data. Okay, it's a publication issue. There will be some ethical publication issue in there. So you have to actually check on that. Okay. Why did I highlight that issue is that you don't want to actually publish your data many times. Okay, that's number one. Number two, for the postgraduate student, it is a very kita kata itu adalah satu tips yang sangat bagus untuk kamu menulis setiap kali kamu menghabiskan satu eksperimen dan answer the objective atau 2-3 eksperimen dan answer the objective, because when you have finish your experiments and your experiments have analyzed it, you can actually discuss to see whether the objective has been answered. That is when you actually compare your data with other people. It is not a good idea to leave your data for a long time and not comparing with other people.
So it's during the research, yeah, Prof.
Yes, that is what I think. What I found that it is very important. For a PhD, the shortest that the shortest time that the take is about 6 semesters. They will generate a lot of data. They will try to answer at least 5 to 6 objectives. So it is a lot of data. So if you leave it by the end of 3 years to actually write everything, you might miss a few things along the way that you didn't incorporate. So when you finish your experiments, 1, 2, or 3 experiments, and you think that those experiments are able to answer your objective, please write a paper. Okay, please write a paper. And then another tips is you might want to actually go into Web of Science, check the paper that you refer to. Okay, I'm sure when you plan your proposal, when you plan your work, you have actually gone through references that other people have done, what other people have done. And I'm sure that what other people have done, the journals that you refer to, it must be good journals. So you know how much work is needed in order to fulfill the manuscript into those journals. So that is what we meant by planning a research project. So a 3 years research project should at least have 2 good papers. Okay, a PhD project, you should at least get 2 papers. If you don't get 2 good papers, meaning Q1 and Q2, I will not say that you haven't done your work, but I will say that you have wasted good data. I am sure when a PhD project is being accepted as PhD project, it is being accepted as a project that has never done before. So meaning your planning must be something is very thoughtful. It has to fulfill PhD, and you put you put a lot of effort in your work. You will want to answer at least 6 objectives. If hardworking groups, hardworking students, hardworking supervisors, they are able to do 6 or 7 objectives. 6 semester, 7 semester, 8 semesters is the most, I would say, for PhD. Um, um, so for medicine, for life sciences, when I first started doing research project, I would say that I need 2. But nowadays, when I have worked with the chemists, because we are looking into molecular structure, we're isolating substances that is able to give the activities. So I can see that especially like a drug delivery system, cancer work, when I start working with other people, I can see that a group of chemists, a productive group, they can have at least 5 papers for a PhD project, at least Q1 and Q2. So I can see that I also can do better, not can do better, I'm sorry. I also can do what they have done, but probably for medicine, life sciences, I cannot do 5, okay? But I have also seen someone who has finished PhD within 6 semesters. They have done 5 papers in my department. So meaning we cannot say that it is ambitious, but we have to say that it is possible. Okay, if we can plan the work correctly, it has to be at the beginning of a project. Okay, like what I have listed earlier, all those things, it has to be that. I know that probably my lab is not the best lab if compared to the UK, or if compared to the US, or probably compared to your lab. I don't know. Okay, but we have to work around the limitation, work around the problem, and try to put many things in there to ensure that it fulfill what we want. Okay, I think you know what I'm trying to say. So how do you write? Okay, and another aspect that is important is that authorship of a manuscript. Who are the authors of the manuscript? So who will become the first author? Who will become the last author? Who will you put in between? And who will become the corresponding author? This aspect is very important because when you have a group of people working together, these are all people with many behaviors, with many intellectuality, with many commitments. So when you plan, you have to agree on the authorship of the manuscripts, okay? And when you plan, you should know how many papers that you can actually produce from the work, okay? So what we practice, the person who will become the first author is my postgraduate student, who will actually conduct the work, who will actually draft the paper, who is responsible in generating the data. Okay? And who will be the last author? So I like to be the person who is in the last spot. Okay, and the last author is usually the corresponding author, and the last author and the corresponding author is usually the principal investigator. The ownership of the project, the ownership of the postgraduate student. So that is what I usually practice. And then someone might ask me, what if the institution requests differently? So it depends on what your institutions need. Okay, whether you need to be the first author or whether you need to be the last author. So it depends on what you did. Okay, but why I practice that is that UPM, my institution, doesn't need me to become the first author. Okay, I can always become the corresponding author. That is the ownership of the project. And then who will you put in between? So these people are all the people who are involved in your work. Okay, so as you can see in that, okay, sorry, this is the people who are involved with the project which we did a few years ago. And this girl, Shafinas Abdul Ghani, she is our postgraduate student. And Sulaiman is another postgraduate student who helped us with the work. And Umar Kura is also postgraduate. Faranas Barahi is also postgraduate. And Professor Zube is one of my collaborators. Okay, and this is me. So you can see in that the contribution of the authors. Okay, so your paper will have at least 6 different sections. Okay, so the title must summarize the main point of your paper. It must be concise and it must contain general information of the article. Okay, avoid acronyms, avoid abbreviations, avoid long sentences, meaning that avoid excessive words. Okay, so this is the paper which I have shared with the panitia just to show to you the example. Okay, the effect of protocatechoic acid layered double hydroxide nanoparticles on diethyl nitrosamine phenobarbital induced hepatocellular carcinoma in mice. Okay, so from the title, although you can see that it is quite long, but actually the gist of it is that I want to tell about the effect of the nanoparticle. That is the name of the nanoparticle on mice that is induced with cancer, and how I induce it with diethyl nitrosamine and expedite it with phenobarbital. Okay, so this is an example. Okay, so after the article, you need to write an abstract. Okay, so this is what you need to include in the abstract. Okay, summary of the paper, project background, the problem statement, justification and the purpose of the research, okay, objective of the work, okay, and short to the point of how did you do it, what are the materials and method that you do it, results, the major point, so meaning that the results you have to describe the observation, and then the conclusion. Okay, so this is the example of the abstract of the paper, which the title I have indicated just now. Okay, So if you look at the abstract, you can see that I have included all the items which I have mentioned just now. So this is about the work. It is telling about what is cancer is all about, and then what is the problem with anti-cancer drug, and this is the things that we do. We synthesize a nanoparticle, and we want to know how efficacy, how effective is the nanoparticle, and we tested in an animal model, and how we induce the cancer model. Okay. So in the red box, it is to show that what we have observed and what are the observation that we saw in order to answer the objective, which is to see the effects of the nanoparticle. Okay. And then after that, I concluded. Okay. So when you have the abstract, then you have to go into introduction. So if you can recall, the content of the abstract is similar to the content of the paper. Okay, except for that, in the paper you have to expand it. Okay, and then like introduction, background information you mentioned in the abstract. So what is the difference of an original article in Q1 and Q2 and the article in Scopus index paper? I would say that you have to actually put all these things in your introduction. Probably in extended paper in the conference proceeding, which is also a paper, probably in the Scopus index journal, you might not need that much, okay? But in Q1 and Q2, you have to actually put the background information in such a way to say that it is a very important study, okay? And then you have to actually highlight your problem statement, because that is actually the selling point of your study, okay? What is actually the problem statement? When I review papers, manuscript with high rejection, usually the introduction is not that tak begitu highlight semua ini, ya. So you have to actually sell the idea. I'm sorry, can I have
Yes.
sorry, somebody, can you hear the background noise? Did you hear the background noise?
I think it's okay.
Okay, fine.
Di mute aja.
Sorry, I'm losing it now. Wait a minute.
Okay, now it's okay, Prof. Sarida.
Okay now?
Okay.
Good. It's my kids are making noise. Okay, now, so highlight the problem statement, highlight the gap, make it obvious, and how your study is going to fill the gap, okay? And state the fundamental aspect of your work, okay? Use the present tense, and if you want to bring other findings, if you want to bring other reference, okay, use the past tense for previous findings, okay? Okay, so this is the example of the introduction. Probably I don't have to go through the introduction. You can actually look at it later. Okay, and then at the end of the introduction, I have highlighted the objective of the project. Okay, so in this study, the effects of nanoparticle on the mice was investigated, and during the HCC induction period, which is the cancer induction period, serum alpha fetoprotein level was used a biomarker to confirm the presence of HCC before the intervention. So in this paper, the difference that I have made is that I have highlighted that my model is actually a cancer model because I have incorporated serum alpha fetoprotein level as a biomarker. So if you realize that um, there are many studies on many animal models, but they didn't highlight it, how good is the model is. Okay, if they say that it is cancer model, and usually their paper they would just say that they adopted from another study. Okay, and then when you repeat the actual model, uh, you might not get whatever that you claim. Okay, so what we have done in here is actually to incorporate a biomarker to confirm that the cancer is actually there. So you can imagine when you have an animal model that you claim that it is of disease condition, but you didn't confirm properly that it is of disease condition, and you treat it. Okay, you might have a positive data, a positive results, because whatever that you see is actually due to the dosage that you have given to the animals. Okay, so that is the detail of it, something like that. Okay, so now we move on to the problem statement. Uh, I think in the introduction, this is very important. Sometimes when we read the introduction, at the end of the section, we are still not sure what is actually the person wants to do. Okay, because they fail to actually raise the issue of the problem and what is their project is going to do to fulfill the problem. Okay, usually they are only saying that they are presenting whatever that they have, and they forget to highlight all these things. Okay, so you have to properly think about introduction in order to ensure that reviewers would want to actually move to method, results, and discussion. Usually, what I would do is actually read the introduction, and then I will read I will look at the results and discussion. Because to me, the method is something that we repeat from other people and we modify in order to answer the objective. If you're not able to ensure that the introduction is good, you have to actually look at it again. Okay? Okay. Now, materials and methods. This is the easiest part that you can do. Okay? So, for the postgraduate students, as you go along, this would be the first part that you need to write. Okay? It will be good for your thesis. It will be good for your papers. Okay? list down all the chemicals, describe the methods that you have conducted, identify and state from which study that you have adopted from, and if you make any changes, state when you make that changes. Okay, so ensure that it is as detailed as possible because it will become a reference to other researchers. Okay, and then you can write the method. If your work is on human, animals, small animals, big animals, the numbers, the species, where you got it from, okay, sample preparations, the technique, the origin of the samples, field site description, how you do the data collection, how you do the data analysis, equipment that you use, okay, you write it now. Okay, don't leave it until at the end of your lab work has finished. Okay, trust me. Okay, if you do the lab work for 3 years, if you don't do the writing now, you will spend another 3 years to write your thesis. Writing thesis is equally extensive. Okay, and it's equally kita kata, kalau kamu rasa buat kerja lab susah, penat, menulis kita boleh kata 2 kali lebih penat. Okay, so in order for you to save time, when you do your methods, when you do your work in the lab, start writing materials and method. This is the easiest sections that you can write. And then the example on how you want to write, get a good paper and put that as an example on how they write. Okay, kita bukan mencuri apa yang dia tulis, kita bukan copy, tetapi kita tulis dan membuatkan paper tersebut sebagai reference. Okay, jangan copy, don't copy 100%, don't copy 90%, don't copy 80%. You have to actually put that as a reference to you so that you can write the sections that you want. Okay, so this is my method for the paper that I have mentioned just now. So you can see that I have described, this is the first time I'm using this. I'm putting the video. Okay, so you can see the chemicals there. You can see the end, how I develop my animal model. So I put all the details, the age, the species, where I got it from, where di mana saya simpan tikus itu, okay, and how I feed them, and the ethics, approval, it must be there, okay, and then how we induce the hepatocellular carcinoma, iaitu kanser di dalam hepar. Okay, so I have described the model there, and then I have indicated confirmation on the presence of cancer hepar. Okay, and when we have confirmed, we treat the animal models with the nanoparticles. And then after treatment, how we sacrifice the animals, and what are the organs of interest and specimen of interest. Okay, and then after collection, how we do the specimen analysis. And then what are the assays that we have conducted. Okay. And then finally, what is equally important, after you have done the analysis, you want to know whether the data that you have observed, the data that you have obtained, is actually any difference among the treatment group and also with the control group. Okay, so we have to have the statistical analysis. So I have mentioned the statistical analysis, how it is being conducted. Okay, so you have to have your method and you have to explain it. So the Q1 and Q2 paper would require some detailed method, okay? Unless that your work is actually developing the method and you feel that you need the method in order for you to patent your product or something for some engineering work or for some information technology, the IT, you know, you have to, you cannot publish now, okay? If you want to patent, you cannot publish yet because you don't want the, whatever that you have done is becoming the public domain, okay? If you have published and it is in the public domain, so probably you cannot patent the thing, okay? So I'm not going to go into detail for that one. Okay, now, after you got your materials and methods, you get your results. So you have to start writing your results. So if you have a good objective, you know what you want, you have listed down your methods properly, so it will be easy for you to write your results. Okay, so your results must logically answer your research question. It must correlate well with your methods. Okay, and then analyze the data correctly with a statistical measure. Use the data or the graph or photograph for data. Okay, so item number 3, it is very important because sometimes I saw that for the young postgraduate, they're not sure about their data. Okay, if they have, especially when they have many groups, they don't know what they are comparing with. Okay, so when they presented their data, if you don't compare between groups or among groups, what does that mean? Okay, so your statistic, the comparison might not answering your objective. It might not answering the problem that you're trying to solve. Okay, so for item number 3, it is very important that you have to go back to the objective of the work. Okay, so meaning the objective of the paper, the objective of the research chapter. So then you know what exactly that you are analyzing and how you want to actually compare your statistic. Okay, if you fail this part, it is going to be difficult for you to discuss. Okay, because if you fail number 3, the section for discussion is going to be haywire the first time reader will find it difficult to understand even if you have a good results. Okay? Because item number 4 is whatever that you observe. It's fine. You can actually put it there. Okay? But item number 3 is very important. Okay, so sometimes you can actually have some supplements, but ensure that the supplements is not the same thing as the data you presented. Okay? Okay, so now I will show to you on the results. So we have synthesized nanoparticle. We characterize the nanoparticle and what are the characterization that we do, and our animal model. Why is it going too slowly? Okay. The animal model that we have to confirm that it is cancer, and then the observation that we make, the body weight. Okay, why I put that testicular feature? Okay, because that is one of the clinical condition in the male patient that the size is declining. Okay, why is this? We have to wait a little bit. Okay. Okay, so I presented on the body weight. It's going too slowly. Is my time is up now? It's almost 1 o'clock.
Mas,
No,
yes.
1 o'clock here. It's 12 o'clock. Okay. But then it's already in the results section. So you can plan so that your data, besides the table, it can be photo data, okay? And then you have to decide on whether it's good in table form or whether it is in graph form, okay? But if it is a graph, don't present another data in the table, okay? So make sure that you don't repeat anywhere. Okay. There. Okay, let's move to the other slides. What is this now? Okay, probably you can actually look at it on your own time. Okay, now this is important. Avoid doing the following when writing the result section. Okay, you must avoid discussing or interpreting your results. Okay, meaning your results is only your results. You cannot discuss anything about why the results you have high body weight in the animals, okay? But you can say that treatment group, there is a reduction in body weight during the duration of the study. The animals doesn't have will not eat, the animal looks like this, like that. Okay, observation is good. But you cannot say it might be due to the doses of chemicals that we put in. You know, we cannot discuss your results in the result section. You only have to record the observation, and you have to describe the significance between one group to the other. Okay. And avoid reporting background information and attempt to explaining finding. And this is important. Do not ignore negative results. Okay, and avoid include raw data or intermediate calculation. Okay, if you want to include raw data, it can be included in the supplement. Okay, so in a manuscript, raw data or intermediate calculation is not needed. Okay, so be as factual and concise as possible in reporting finding. Presenting the same data or repeated data is not acceptable. Okay. And when you have figures and table, you must ensure that they are completely labeled, because when you look at your graph, you know already what is the content of the graph that you want to tell. Okay, you must be very detailed, the label must be complete. You have to imagine whoever is reading your work is a first time reader. They are not the person who conduct the work, but they are person in other parts of the world who have never seen it. Okay, so don't confuse your reviewer or your reader on figures and tables. Okay, how meticulous you are is can be seen with the labeling of figures and also with your tables. Okay, this is the last part, writing discussion section. Okay, so in the discussion, connect the discussion to the introduction by way of the research question or hypothesis you pose and literature that you review. Okay, do not simply repeat or rearrange the introduction, and the discussion should always explain how your study has moved so that the readers will understand if the research problem has moved forward from where you left them at the end of the introduction. Okay, so you must interpret and describe the significance of your finding, take into account what is already known about the research problem that is being investigated, and explain any new understanding or fresh insight. Okay? Okay. Now, so that is the manuscript. Okay? So you should have the discussion and at least one or two sentences for conclusion. Okay? So that the reader knows how your work is able to answer the problem. So now, you send to the journal, you send to the editor, and next week the editor come back to you and saying that, your journal is being sent to reviewers. So now you know that you have already passed the first stage. Okay, so usually when you send to journals, the first round, the editor of the journals or co-editor of the journals will actually look at your paper. Okay, whether it fulfill the aim and the scope of the journal, and whether you follow the manual for the instruction for authors. If you fulfill that, then he will send for review. If you don't fulfill that, probably you send today, tomorrow you will receive a response from the editor to say that the work that you have done is good, but it doesn't fulfill the scope of the journal. So that's why it is very important that you know which journal that you want to send to and it fulfill the scope that you want. Okay, so now we move on to say that your paper has been reviewed and then it come back to you, and there are lists of items that the reviewers has commented. Okay, so usually for good paper or good journals, they will send to many reviewers. I would say that more than 2, 3, 4, and sometimes there will be some manuscript 5 or 6 reviewers. Okay, depending on the reviewer sites, okay, editor sites. And then when come back to you, you see the list of comment made by the reviewers. Okay, so how do you deal with reviewers' comment? Okay, so meaning when you send, it's not published. It's not published yet. Okay, because reviewers will comment and ask you many questions. So how do you attend to reviewers' comment? Okay, so in rare occasion, some reviewers will recommend that your paper will be accepted without revision. But that is very rare. Okay, I would say that for good journals, for good quartile, I have never seen our work has been accepted without revision. But if we send the paper to lower ranking journal, yes, it will be accepted. Okay, so that's why you need that comment from reviewer in order to know whether your work, okay, your paper is up to the standard. Okay, so when you look at the comment, you might be thinking, that's it, that is the end of it. You have more work. You would feel that, this is impossible. No, don't think about it that way. When you do your project, when you write a paper, when you send to journals, the first thing that you should put into your mind after all those effort, there will be rejection. Okay? There will be rejection. I can tell you that. Okay? But if come back to you with comments, they didn't say that there's no rejection, there is still a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay? You have to attend to each single comment by the reviewer. Okay? So, put in yourself with positive acceptance, answer the comment with constructive manner, okay, improve the manuscript, okay, meaning when there is comment from reviewers, they are very interested in your work. They want to ensure that the manuscript is better, okay. They want to ensure that your work is publishable, okay. And they are very keen in the project that is going on, okay. So when they want to make it better, you revise the manuscript. They want to ensure that your work is publishable up to the standard, okay. So they want to ensure that the paper is of quality, the work is also of quality, okay. So ensure that you make all possible attempts to comply with their requests, including performing extra experiments, even if you think that they are unnecessary. That's why it is very important that postgraduate students try and write now. Okay? Try and write now and send your paper to reviewers. Okay? Of course, sometimes reviewers' requests are misguided or based on faulty reasoning. Okay? But you can rebuttal. and give justification of your work with good reasoning as well. Okay. So when you rebuttal, you have to give reason, give proof, put evidence from reported literature. Okay. And then when you attend to all the comments, you send back your revised manuscript to the journal. You should also include a detailed point-by-point explanation on how you have addressed each of reviewers' comment, and also possibly there will be some editor's comment as well. Okay, and you must remember the editor will send your response to the reviewers. So if you refuse to address one of the comments, you would offend the reviewer. Okay, so you might actually jeopardize your chance for the paper to be published. Okay, so be polite to your editor, be polite to your reviewer. And remember, never a good idea to engage in personal attack or personal observation about reviewers and their reviews. Okay, so in all situations, editors are pleasant and welcome to actually work with you. Okay, so I am also putting here the example of reviewers' comment this is not all, but this is actually part of the comment made by our reviewers when one of our MSc students sent for a review paper. Okay, so from here you can see that this is only a screenshot where we have until item number 5. This is only for one reviewer. So you can read it later by yourself, and they will ask question and we will have to answer by making corrections. And then if you don't want to make corrections, you have to justify why you don't want to make corrections. Okay, so this is the example of another comment by the reviewer and how we answer to that comment. And this is the paper in the polymer characterization of betulinic acid multi-wall carbon nanotubes modified with biopolymer to improve biocompatibility. So you can see that when reviewers comment, they put in different items, and for each items we answer it. Okay, so we thank the reviewer for the valuable comment. We feel much appreciated for the time spent on reviewing our paper. And synthesis is not described, so we modify it by describing in which line, which page. Okay, please mention cytokine activation with appropriate references in the abstract as one of potential detrimental reaction. So we have included this in the introduction instead of the abstract. So please refer to line blah blah blah, you know. So it has to be detailed response for reviewers' comment. Okay. So, rejections versus energy motivation. The higher number of rejections from the journals that you get, then I do understand that the energy is actually worn out. Motivation is actually coming down. Okay? But as an academician, as a researcher, you must put in your mind, it doesn't mean that your paper is not up to good. Okay? You know that you have put all your effort and yet your manuscript is still being rejected. It's not that your work is not good. Okay? Probably, okay, you have to deal with rejection. Okay, it can be sad. Don't email the editor and, demand explanation, accusing of unfairness and bias. Okay, it might be a good idea to write a letter to explain your point of view regarding your work and your paper. Okay, so the best way to deal with rejection, you have to think about every time you send to a journal, there will be different sets of reviewers and they will have different comments on your work, and you will improve your work and your paper at the same time. Okay. And as for me, okay, we also face similar situation. As I said to you earlier, when we send manuscript, we will expect rejections. But every time we send to good journals, they have many sets of reviewers, and reviewers will actually review and read our paper. Okay? And then the cycle is that you need to improve your manuscript. You have to attend to the comment and you send back. If that particular journal doesn't like it, it's fine. What you have to do, you go to the second journal and reformat it. Okay, fix and edit it according to the previous comment made by previous reviewer from previous journal. Okay, my own experience being rejected, there was one paper that have been rejected at least I think 7 times, and every time being rejected, we correct it, we amend it, and finally it goes into Q1 journal. Every time it is being rejected, we send to the same level of journal, meaning same level of Q, and we improve the paper, and finally we manage to get into Q1 with higher impact factor. So don't get too bogged down when it get rejected. Okay, you must put good effort. You must try and diversify your reading and try and answer the comment besides improving the manuscript. Okay, because I can see that some people, when they get rejection, okay, they will actually send to a higher ranking journal. I learned from someone, they say that when it get rejected, actually your work is okay. It's just that probably there are a few things that you don't fulfill. It's fine. You just try and fulfill that, and then you have to just keep moving and then ensure that your work is up to the standard and your paper is up to the standard. So we try a higher ranking journal. If you put your work into a lower ranking journal, definitely you will get accepted. Yeah. So that is our strategy. Okay. So probably your strategy might be different, but you might try and diversify your strategy to ensure that it is being accepted into Q1 and Q2. Okay, having said that, it may not work for postgraduate, but postgraduate is being supervised by the supervisor. So you need to sit down and then look at it again and then discuss among you, among the supervisors, among collaborators on how you want to improve the paper in order to ensure that it is being accepted. So imagine that if it is a good work you send to a lower ranking journal, it will definitely get accepted. So, but then the audience of a lower ranking journal, probably it's not, you will not get many citation. That is the drawback. Yeah. So that is what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Okay. So you just have to keep moving, because that is the job scope of an academician, a researcher, an educator. Okay. You just have to have a positive mind, in a positive attitude in your mind. Okay. And you just have to remember, you have to do something in order to ensure that whatever work that you are doing, it's moving. If you feel that you feel bogged down, you have to actually have the high spirit in order to ensure that you keep moving. Okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, okay. So due to recent budget cut, the light at the end of the tunnel has been turned off. Well, please don't do that. Yeah. So no, I would say that the light at the end of the tunnel is well worth of the journey that it took it there. Okay. So the ladder of success, in order to be successful, you just have to try and try and try again until you succeeded. Okay. So if you're down here, I won't, I can't, 20%, I don't know, I wish I could, I think I might, I think can, and finally, yes, 100%. I will and I did it. Okay. So that is all. Thank you so much. I hope that I'm able to trigger the motivation for you to publish.
I mean, okay. Thank you, Prof. Sarida, for the presentation. It's a very useful presentation. Okay. Kembali lagi, ada beberapa pertanyaan dari peserta. Yang pertama dari Ibu Vivi Khairul Fitriah dari UNUSA. Pertanyaannya adalah, how reputable journals take into account the literature we cite? Sometimes we quote the ancient literature that is not shared online, but they say it is not valid, like the photo I attached below. Okay, let me share it first. Like this one. The citation have been checked and it is not valid. Okay, I'll share. Maaf, Profesor Rida, masih termute.
Yeah, I didn't get this question. I'm sorry. Can I actually read the question somewhere?
You can read in the chat.
In the chat. Siapa nak?
Yes,
Dari atas atau dari bawah?
dari atas.
Dengan format. Bagi ibu bapa menulis dengan format itu okay. So how
Yeah.
take into account the literature that we cite. Sometimes we quote ancient literature that is not shared online, but we say, I see. Okay. 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 Mohon tanya ya, Ibu Vivi Fitriah ini literaturenya ini science social atau life sciences?
Ibu Vivi masih ada di room Zoom?
Okey, bukan selalunya, tetapi memang apabila kita cite ancient literature kita nggak mahu. Kita mahu something yang when we cite, it's within that 10 years. Okay? Unless that ancient literature, probably that is the first person that discovered it, or first person who invent the product, or the first person who invent the technology. So, katalah for example untuk contohnya 1972. Sepanjang 1972 ke 2021 nggak ada literature, nggak ada orang lain yang membuat kerjanya. You know, so ataupun it has to be something in between that you can actually bring the idea, because ancient literature, it's how ancient is ancient, you know. Even if I would say 2001, if I quote something of 2001 that is about 20 years ago, to me it's still old reference, because science, technology, engineering,
With innovation.
it will change every day. So
Okay.
you need new literature.
Oke, Profesor Ida. Jadi it's better that we cite no more than 5 years.
10. If you can get 5, that's the best. Meaning that
Okay.
it is showing that you are only picking something that is, you know, something that is new, that is the latest.
Okay. So we next to the next question. Go to the next question. From Bapak Difra Nobel Bistara, UNUSA. How to create novelty in research and deserves to be published in the Scopus Q1 and Q2 journals?
That is very, I would say, difficult to answer because novelty. Okay, and deserve to be published in Scopus Q1, Q2. I would say that novelty is something subjective. We come across the word novelty many times when you apply for grant, you put a proposal, they will also ask for novelty. But if you think about it, there could be other people outside UPM, there could be other people outside the country who's doing the same thing, which I would say that high chances people are doing it. But I would say that the novelty is if you are able to actually say what is the gap that you want to actually answer for the work. Because novelty meaning new, right? Kita susah mau katakan yang apa yang kita buat ini adalah sesuatu yang baharu. My personal opinion is not the novelty, because if you say that you are doing something novel, something new, other people would have been doing the same thing. So I would say that that is the problem that you want to solve. You are identifying the gap. It could be you are doing here, somewhere in Egypt, someone else is doing. Somewhere in Fuji, someone else is doing. So that's why you can collaborate together. So identify the area where there is still gap. Okay. Okay, let me put an example. Nowadays, people are trying to work on what is the best solution to deliver anti-cancer drugs, anti-cancer chemotherapy. Okay, because the anti-cancer treatment is giving so many side effects, and yet the drug is good. So, what scientists is trying to do, I think Ibu Ari is also doing the same thing. What we are trying to do is actually to ensure that the anti-cancer drug is being targeted properly to the cancer cells and not affecting the neighboring cells. But how good it is? We're not sure, because that is the problem that we are trying to solve with many things and many ideas that you want to actually put in. Okay, so to answer the question, I would say that you need to establish the gap that you would like to answer in order to establish the novelty in research.
Okay, establish the novelty and the gap. Okay, for the next question from Ibu Ima Kurnia Astuti, Unusa, should we put authors from another country in our manuscript to publish papers in Q1 or Q2 so that a large percentage is accepted?
Okay. I would say no, if the author doesn't commit to the work. Okay, I am against authorship that you just need the name in order for the paper to be accepted. Okay, because nowadays journal will ask the contribution of each author. So it is not ethical for you to put just in order for the manuscript to be accepted. Okay, so what you have to do is probably have to have a good collaboration. You have to have a good understanding in order for the person to be included. Okay, and I think it will be quite offensive as well for the person when you requested for the name to be included in the paper in order to ensure that it is to be accepted. When they don't actually put any effort in producing the work and also in producing the manuscript. Okay, so meaning that you yourself can actually ensure that the work is good and your paper is good. Because if you want to have your work to be published now in Q1 and you want to actually have the name today, in 2 years time probably the person mati atau you know what I mean. It is not sustainable. You have to establish a sustainable connection in order to ensure that the commitment is sustainable and you can actually bring it further rather than to ensure that one manuscript has been accepted. Okay. Is there any other question?
No, I think that's all, but I want to ask something to you, Professor Rida. Okay, now in pandemic COVID-19, how do you do your research, Professor Rida? As we know, the current situation, campus lockdown, student back to home, and sometimes it feels so difficult to ask. Or you just do work around the limitation.
Yes. Okay, I have to be frank. It's not easy to get grant. For myself, as a principal investigator, I have actually used up all my grants and all my postgraduate student has already finished. And I am in the process of applying grants. There are many funding I have already submitted, and at the moment I haven't got any good news, but I'm still working on it. I only have at the moment 2 postgraduate students, and we are working on developing an ergogenic product We are hoping to actually develop an ergogenic product, and we are still in the stage of some chemical analysis. And but I have collaborators, and I have students who I co-supervise. So those co-supervisions will ensure that I have manuscript that I can actually read in a few months' time next year. In order to ensure that it is sustainable, besides you yourself becoming principal investigator, you also need to become a co-researcher for other people. So meaning that they will also carry your name whenever the work is being published or the product is being produced.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Sarida. There is a question from Mr. Shaikon. What are the main obstacles usually faced in submitting Q1 and Q2, and how are their solutions?
Okay, I would say the main obstacle is the money. If you don't have money, it's gonna be difficult to actually get a good work being done. And when there is no good work being done, you cannot actually produce a good paper. Okay. Yeah. Working within the limitation, meaning that if the money is small, you have to start small. And then you have to start small, and you have to actually build up the research work. You cannot say that you get big money, then you want to start your work. It cannot work that way, because whatever that we do, we have to start small. Because funder will not give you big money if they don't have the trust in you. So I have been working for about 22 years. I got my PhD I think I got my PhD 2001. That was ages ago. I feel that I cannot say that I'm old, but I'm quite ancient now, actually. But when we first started, the money isn't that much. My first intention is to ensure that I publish my work. And among those first paper, it was non-cited journal. And then I moved on to Scopus journal. And then when I got more grants, I moved on to Q4. Well, Q3, Q4 is not that much. But then when I got grants, when I applied for grants, I didn't apply for one. I applied for many. So when I apply for many, when the idea is big, if the grant is small, you can actually put one objective for one grant, the other objective for another grant, the other objective for another grant. So we, at the end of the day, we can combine it, and then we can come up with one good paper. So when you start developing your CV, and then when you want to apply more grant, the funder will actually trust you because you have actually developed your CV. You got student supervisions, you got your publications, you can say that you get this grant, completed that grant, you know. So whatever it is, you have to start somewhere. It doesn't matter whether you apply Q1 or you get Q1 or Q2, but you have to start somewhere. If you are in Scopus now, you have to start thinking that you want to publish in Q3 and Q4. But if, like I say, that you have a good collaboration, you can start expand your work and try and ask your collaborators to actually run the essay for you, provided that your collaborators has money. Okay, then that is how you form a sustainable collaboration. Okay, I know someone who is in Mauritius. I met someone who is in Mauritius. He has a lot of publication, and then but then he did mention to me he didn't have a good facility in the lab, but he managed to have a good collaboration. When I look at his CV, his work is more on natural product, plant product. So when he get the raw material, he sent to many parts of the world. So he has identified collaborators who is able to actually identify something for him. Okay, and then he write the papers. Besides original articles, he also write review papers. So if you're not, probably you are aware, review papers, the impact factor is even higher. People will cite your papers. So in this situation now, if you cannot do the lab work, probably another things that you can do is writing a review papers. And then the other papers would be systematic reviews. That is a high impact manuscript as well. That would be in other discussion if we want to actually go through. Okay, so as for now, if we are starting as a young researcher or probably young lecturer, dosen yang muda, belum ada experience, probably you want to try look at various papers and then make contact with researchers who you can work with. Okay, so that is the situation. So meaning you have to have a good collaborators as well, besides a good funding.
Okay, thank you, Professor Sarida, for all the knowledge. And inshallah, all questions have been answered. Terima kasih, saya kembali lagi ke bahasa Indonesia. Baik, Bapak Ibu sekalian, terima kasih dan kalau bisa berikan aplausnya kepada Profesor Ibu Syarida untuk pemaparannya kali ini. Oke. Terima kasih banyak. Oke, kali ini waktu tersisa sekitar 2 menit. Jadi mohon jangan leave dulu Bapak Ibu. Monggo mengirimkan feedback dari kami terkait kesan dan topik pada webinar LPPM kali ini. Kemudian yang terakhir, terima kasih banyak dan alhamdulillah webinar kita kali ini menarik dan sangat-sangat bermanfaat. Terima kasih banyak Ibu Prof. Sarida dan terima kasih juga kepada seluruh panitia. Terima kasih kepada Bapak Ibu peserta. Sampai jumpa di kesempatan yang akan datang dan saya kembalikan ke MC Ibu Dwi Handayani. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Baik, terima kasih kami ucapkan kepada moderator dan pembicara yang sudah sangat luar biasa hari ini. Tentunya apa yang sudah disampaikan sangat bermanfaat bagi kita semua, terutama pada kami yang selaku kaum akademisi begitu ya. Baik, acara selanjutnya ada penyerahan sertifikat penghargaan secara virtual kepada pembicara. Mohon berkenan Sekretaris LPPM UNUSA, Ibu Rizky Amalia, untuk menyerahkan sertifikat secara simbolis kepada Prof. Sarida.
Assalamualaikum, Prof. Sarida Fabrazi. Excuse me, mewakili Bapak Rektor UNUSA, kami ucapkan terima kasih banyak ya, thank you very much to Prof. Syarida Fabrazi. Mohon izin tadi Bapak Rektor untuk meninggalkan Zoom lebih awal karena beliau ada other activity with the Badan Wakaf Indonesia. Thank you, terima kasih banyak for your bersekenan untuk for your referral to webinar. Thank you very much. Berikut we'll send our announcement in a result certificate. Semoga bermanfaat. Hope it's useful for you and for banyak ilmu yang kami dapatkan untuk teman-teman dosen UNUSA. Semoga teman-teman bermanfaat untuk bisa menyusul Prof. Syarida, bisa publish di paper Q1 and Q2. Terima kasih banyak kami sampaikan. Jangan bosan seandainya nanti teman-teman dari LPPM ingin berkomunikasi atau bekerja sama lebih lanjut, begitu Prof. Sarida.
Ya, saya sudah letakkan emailnya di
Alhamdulillah. sarida@upm.edu.my. Oke, baik. Terima kasih. Berikut sertifikat yang bisa mungkin sedikit tidak banyak yang kami berikan, tidak seperti ilmu yang Prof. Sarida berikan ke kami, begitu. Terima kasih sekali lagi mewakili Bapak Rektor untuk permohonan maaf beliau dan terima kasih berkenan menjadi narasumber di webinar yang diselenggarakan oleh LPPM UNESA.
salam buat Bapak Rektor dan semua.
Yeah.
Sudah kangen mau cakap bahasa Indonesia juga. Setiap tahun saya akan ke Indonesia, ke Surabaya.
Oh ya,
Amin.
monggo nanti bisa mampir di LPPM UNUSA begitu. Alhamdulillah.
Baik, terima kasih kami sampaikan. Tak terasa seluruh rangkaian acara pada hari ini telah kita lewati bersama. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada para pembicara, kepada seluruh peserta yang sudah antusias mengikuti webinar hari ini sampai selesai. Dan kami ingatkan kembali bagi peserta yang belum mengisi absensi untuk dapat segera mengisi pada link yang sudah di-share oleh panitia di kolom chat. Absensi akan kami tutup pada pukul 1 siang waktu Indonesia Barat. Baik, saya selaku pembawa acara mohon maaf apabila ada kekurangan dalam rangkaian acara pada hari ini dan kami mohon saran serta kritik yang dapat disampaikan pada form absensi untuk perbaikan kami ke depan. Dan akhir kata saya ucapkan sampai jumpa kembali di acara webinar LPPM UNUSA berikutnya. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Terima kasih, Prof. Terima kasih, Bapak Ibu semua.
Jumpa lagi.